Captain Day-Wan stood on the bridge of the Soul's Promise, staring at the screen in complete disbelief. 200 ships had just appeared at the edge of their solar system. 200 massive, gleaming vessels that made Earth's newest diplomatic ship look like a toy boat, next to an aircraft carrier. "Sir, they're hailing us," Lieutenant Taeho said from his station, his voice carefully calm despite the situation. "Should I answer?" Day-Wan took a deep breath. This was it. First contact with an alien civilization. Humanity had dreamed about this moment for centuries. He just wished it didn't involve what looked like an invasion fleet. "Put them through," he ordered, straightening his uniform. The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It was tall, with purple skin that seemed to shimmer in the light and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The creature wore elaborate robes covered in symbols that probably meant something important. "I am High Archon Veltaris of the Galactic Imperium," the alien said in perfect English, though its mouth didn't quite match the words. "We come in peace to welcome humanity into the greater galactic community. This is a momentous occasion witnessed by 847 species across 12 galaxies." Taeho leaned over and whispered, "They brought 200 warships to say hello. That's like proposing marriage on a first date with your entire extended family watching." Unfortunately, Taeho had forgotten to mute his microphone. The entire Imperium Council heard every word. The High Archon's 4 eyes widened in what might have been shock or offense. "This is not a military action," Veltaris said stiffly. "This is standard diplomatic protocol for first contact situations. We always bring adequate security and witnesses." Before Day-Wan could respond, another alien appeared on screen. This one smaller with gray skin and too many fingers. "High Archon, the humans seem confused by proper procedure. Perhaps they are not ready for this honor?" "We're ready," Day-Wan said quickly. "We just weren't expecting such a large welcome party. On Earth, we usually send 1 or 2 ships for diplomatic missions." "1 or 2? The smaller alien, who introduced himself as Adjunct Rick Simora, looked genuinely confused. "How do you ensure proper security? How do you demonstrate respect? How do you provide adequate witnessing for historical records?" Taeho muttered again, still forgetting about his microphone. "We just shake hands and try not to start wars." "Works pretty well, actually." Veltaris's eyes narrowed. "Lieutenant, your communication device appears to be malfunctioning. We can hear your private comments." Taeho's face turned red as he finally noticed his mistake. "Oh, sorry about that, your Archonness. Technical difficulties." Day-Wan pinched the bridge of his nose. First contact was going wonderfully. "High Archon Veltaris, please forgive my crew. We're new to this. Perhaps we should schedule a formal meeting to discuss properly?" "That would be acceptable," Veltaris said, though he still looked somewhat offended. "We shall arrange a meeting in 1 standard Earth day. Please prepare your lead ambassador and necessary personnel. This is a sacred moment in galactic history, and we expect appropriate solemnity." The transmission ended. Day-Wan immediately turned to Taeho. "Mute your microphone next time." "Yes, sir." "Sorry, sir. But 200 ships really is excessive, I know, but we need to make this work." Day-Wan activated the ship-wide communication system. "Ambassador G1, please report to the bridge immediately." 20 minutes later, Ambassador G1 arrived carrying a cup of coffee and looking tired. She was a former military strategist who had transitioned into diplomacy, which meant she was practical, smart, and didn't waste time with nonsense. "I heard we have alien visitors," she said. 200 of them, apparently. "They want a formal meeting tomorrow," Day-Wan explained. "They seem very concerned with protocol and ceremony." "We need to make a good impression," G1 nodded. "Understood. I'll prepare a presentation about Earth and humanity. We'll show them we're civilized and ready to join the galactic community." The next day came quickly. Day-Wan, G1, and Taeho prepared for the video conference with the Imperium. The aliens had sent over a long list of requirements for the meeting, including proper lighting, appropriate ceremonial dress, and something called witnessing positions that no one quite understood. G1 had worked through the night preparing her presentation. She looked exhausted but professional in her formal uniform. When the time came, they connected to the Imperium's communication channel. The screen showed a massive chamber filled with dozens of different alien species. They all wore elaborate robes and sat in precise positions. Everything looked extremely formal and important. At the center sat High Archon Veltaris, looking even more imposing than before. "We welcome the humans to this sacred gathering," Veltaris began. Let us commence the traditional greeting of peaceful intent. We shall now observe the ceremonial silence. Everyone on the alien side went completely still. The chamber became absolutely quiet. It was clearly some kind of important ritual. On the human side, Jiwon had just sat down with her bowl of instant ramen. She had been so busy preparing that she hadn't eaten breakfast. She slurped a mouthful of noodles, not realizing the camera was already on. The sound echoed through the silent alien chamber. Every alien head turned to stare at the screen. Veltaris's 4 eyes went wide. Rick Zamora looked like he might faint. Is she eating? One alien whispered loudly. During the sacred silence, Jiwon looked up, noodles still hanging from her chopsticks. She saw the horrified alien faces staring at her. Then she saw the camera light. Then she understood her terrible mistake. Oh no, she said quietly, this is outrageous. Rick Zamora jumped to his feet, all his fingers pointing at the screen. The humans show no respect. They treat first contact like a casual meal. This is the most important moment in their species' history, and they're eating noodles. Daewon quickly stepped in front of the camera. Please, High Archon, let me explain. Ambassador Jiwon has been working all night to prepare for this meeting. She meant no disrespect. We simply didn't understand the ceremonial silence had begun. Veltaris held up a hand, silencing Rick Zamora. You did not know, he said slowly. This is unacceptable. We forget that you are new to galactic customs. But please understand, first contact is sacred. It must be treated with proper reverence. We understand, Jiwon said, having quickly set aside her ramen. And I sincerely apologize. On Earth, we often eat while working. It's considered normal, even efficient. But I see now that was inappropriate for this occasion. Efficient? Another alien spoke up. This one with tentacles instead of arms. You combine sustenance intake with important work? How peculiar. That's actually the most normal thing about humans, Taeho muttered. This time, thankfully, his microphone was muted. The meeting continued, though the atmosphere remained awkward. G1 presented information about Earth, its history, and humanity's achievements. The aliens listened politely, though they kept exchanging glances that suggested they found humans very strange. When the presentation ended, Veltaris spoke. We appreciate this information, Ambassador G1. Despite the unfortunate beginning, we see that humans have potential. We propose an in-person meeting at a neutral location. There, we can negotiate humanity's entry into the Galactic Imperium properly. We accept, Daewon said quickly, before anything else could go wrong. After the transmission ended, the 3 humans sat in silence for a moment. Then Taeho started laughing. We just made first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and we showed up eating instant noodles. Jiwon put her head in her hands. I'm never going to live this down. This will be in history books forever. At least they're giving us another chance, Daewon said, though he was trying not to smile. Next time, no food during sacred ceremonies. Next time, Jiwon agreed. But I'm bringing snacks for after. If these meetings are going to be this stressful, I'll need them. The space station called Haven's Gate was the most beautiful thing any human had ever seen. It floated in neutral space between Earth and the Imperium's nearest outpost, built specifically for these negotiations. The aliens had constructed it in just 3 days using technology that seemed like magic. Crystal walls bent light into rainbows, fountains defied gravity by flowing upward, and the floors seemed to shift colors based on who walked on them. Dr. Hyunwoo couldn't stop taking pictures. He was Earth's top xenoanthropologist, which meant he studied alien cultures. This was literally his dream come true. He bounced around the docking bay like an excited puppy, pointing at everything. Look at that architecture, and those are definitely Kelvin crystals in the walls. Oh my God, is that a real Thraxian mineral composite? I've only seen those in theoretical papers. Specialist Bora, the cultural liaison, grabbed his arm before he could run off and touch something important. Dr. Hyunwoo, please remember we're here to make a good impression. Try to stay calm. Bora. We're on an alien space station about to meet dozens of different species. How can anyone stay calm? Bora sighed. This was going to be a long negotiation. The human delegation consisted of Ambassador Ji-won, Captain Daewon, Lieutenant Taeho, Dr. Hyunwoo, and Bora herself. They had all prepared carefully, reading through the cultural briefings the Imperium had sent. The problem was that the briefings were 3,000 pages long and written in extremely formal language that made almost no sense. They walked through crystalline corridors until they reached the main conference chamber. It was enormous, with a circular table that could seat at least 50 beings. Aliens of all shapes and sizes were already seated, watching as the humans entered. High Archon Veltaris stood to greet them. "Welcome to Haven's Gate, humans. We are pleased you arrived safely. Please take your designated seats." The humans sat down, trying to look professional and diplomatic. G1 cleared her throat and began. "High Archon, we're honored to be here. We've prepared a presentation about Earth's proposal for joining the Galactic Imperium." Veltaris nodded approvingly. "Excellent. But first we must present the Treaty of Initial Integration. This document outlines all requirements, obligations, and benefits of joining the Imperium." An alien that looked like a floating jellyfish wheeled over a cart. On it sat a massive document, at least 3,000 pages thick, bound in something that sparkled like starlight. Tejo leaned over to whisper to Daewon. "Is that the actual treaty? In paper form?" "I think so," Daewon whispered back. "That's going to take months to read." G1, however, was already opening her laptop. "Thank you, High Archon. We've prepared a summary of our proposal using a digital format. It should make things easier to understand." She turned on the projector. The words, "Earth's Proposal," a PowerPoint presentation, appeared on the wall in bright blue letters with a clip art picture of a handshake. Every alien in the room froze. Some of them made strange sounds. One alien that looked like a walking cactus actually fell off its chair. "What is PowerPoint?" Rixmora asked slowly, pronouncing the word like it might be dangerous. "It's a presentation tool," G1 explained. "We use it to show information in a clear, organized way. See, this first slide explains our basic proposal, and if I click here..." She clicked to the next slide. It made a whooshing sound effect. Half the aliens jumped. "What was that noise?" A militant-looking alien with scales demanded. "Is this an attack?" "No, no!" Bora quickly stood up. "It's just a transition sound. It's normal. Humans use these presentations all the time for business meetings and proposals." Council member Thraxnil, the scaled alien, narrowed his eyes. "You reduce important galactic negotiations to business meetings?" "Well, yes," G1 said. "Isn't that what this is? We're discussing terms of an agreement. That's business." Hyun-woo, unable to contain himself, added cheerfully, "Actually, this is a pretty formal presentation for us. Usually we'd have more animations and maybe some memes to keep things interesting." "What is a meme?" asked a tiny mouse-like alien named Scholar Piptic. "Oh, it's like a funny picture with text that..." Hyun-woo started. "Not now. Doctor..." Bora cut him off quickly. The presentation continued awkwardly. G1 showed slides about Earth's technology level, cultural diversity, and willingness to cooperate with the Imperium. The aliens watched with a mixture of confusion and fascination. They clearly had never seen anything like PowerPoint before. When it finished, Veltaris spoke carefully. "This is certainly an efficient method of conveying information, very different from our traditional oral presentations that take several days." "Several days?" Tejo blurted out. "Your presentations last for days?" "Of course," Rixmora said. "How else can one properly convey the depth and significance of important matters?" "Coffee," Tejo said without thinking. "Lots and lots of coffee." This started a whole new conversation. The aliens wanted to know what coffee was. When the humans explained it was a stimulant drink, the aliens became concerned. "You consume stimulants before negotiations?" Thraxnil demanded. "Are you trying to gain unfair advantage?" "No, we just need it to stay awake," Daewon explained. "Many humans drink coffee daily. It's normal for us." "You need chemical stimulation to remain conscious?" Piptic asked, sounding genuinely worried. "Are humans naturally weak?" "Not weak," G1 said. "Just tired sometimes. Earth has a 24-hour day-night cycle, but humans don't naturally want to sleep in one long period. Coffee helps us stay alert." Hyun-woo decided to help by adding, "We also drink energy drinks. Those have even more caffeine. And sometimes people drink 5 or 6 in one day." The aliens looked horrified. One of them actually gasped. Bora wanted to sink through the floor. "Humans voluntarily consume that much stimulant?" Veltaris asked. "For what purpose?" "Video games, mostly," Tejo said. "Or exam cramming. Or late-night work. Really, any time you need to stay up longer than you should." The aliens began talking among themselves in various languages. The humans couldn't understand most of it, but they caught words that translated as concerning, reckless, and Death World survivors. Bora decided it was time to change the subject. Perhaps we should discuss cultural exchange programs? We could send human students to learn from the Imperium, and you could send students to Earth. This seemed like a safer topic. The aliens agreed and began discussing possibilities. But then Hyunwoo, trying to be helpful, started comparing different aliens to Earth animals. "You remind me of a jellyfish," he told one floating alien cheerfully. "And you look sort of like a cactus. Oh, and you," he pointed at Thraxnil, "you're definitely lizard-like." "Very cool." Thraxnil stood up, looking offended. "I am not a lizard. I am a proud member of the Thraxian warrior race." "Oh, I didn't mean it as an insult," Hyunwoo said quickly. "Lizards are great. We keep them as pets. Very popular on Earth. You keep being similar to my species as pets?" Thraxnil looked ready to explode. Bora jumped in. "Dr. Hyunwoo means no disrespect. Humans often compare things to animals we know. It's how we understand the unfamiliar. We don't mean to offend anyone." Veltaris raised a hand for calm. "Peace Council member Thraxnil. The humans are still learning. We must be patient with their unusual communication methods." The meeting continued for several more hours. Every time the humans tried to explain something normal from Earth, the aliens found it concerning or strange. When Ji-won suggested taking a break for lunch, the aliens were shocked that humans needed to eat so frequently. When she mentioned Casual Friday, where humans wore less formal clothes to work one day a week, Rixamora thought it was a punishment ritual, but gradually both sides started to understand each other better. The aliens began to realize that humans were just very different, not necessarily wrong or dangerous, and the humans learned that the Imperium valued ceremony, tradition, and careful procedure above all else. By the end of the day, Veltaris actually smiled at the human delegation. Today was educational. I think we are beginning to understand each other despite the cultural differences. We hope so, Ji-won said. We really do want to join the galactic community. We just might do things a bit differently than you're used to. A bit differently, Veltaris repeated, his four eyes twinkling with what might have been amusement. Yes, that is certainly one way to describe humanity. As the humans left the conference chamber, Piptik scurried up to them. "Excuse me, Ambassador Ji-won? I was wondering, could you tell me more about these memes? They sound fascinating." Hyunwoo's face lit up. "Oh, you want to learn about memes? This is going to be amazing." Bora grabbed him by the collar. "Tomorrow, Dr. Hyunwoo. We'll teach them about memes tomorrow, after we've had time to prepare and make sure we don't accidentally start an intergalactic incident." As they walked back to their ship, Daewon shook his head. "We showed up eating noodles yesterday. Today we compared a warrior species to a pet lizard. I'm almost afraid to see what happens tomorrow." "Tomorrow we teach them about memes," Taeho said with a grin. "What could possibly go wrong?" Everyone groaned. The third day of negotiations began with what the humans thought would be a simple exchange of information about their home worlds. They had no idea they were about to terrify the entire Galactic Imperium. Commander Subin had joined the delegation that morning. She was a military advisor with a sharp mind and absolutely no patience for nonsense. She also enjoyed making people uncomfortable with inconvenient facts, which was about to become very relevant. The aliens started by showing presentations about their home worlds. Each planet looked like paradise. Gentle weather, abundant food, peaceful evolution. One alien described their world as consistently pleasant with average temperatures between 20 and 25 degrees. Another talked about how their species evolved without any natural predators. Then it was Earth's turn. Ji-won pulled up an image of their planet, the blue marble floating in space. "This is Earth," she began. "It's our home. We're quite proud of it." The aliens made appreciative sounds. It did look beautiful from space. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world," Ji-won continued casually. The room went silent. Every alien stared at the humans. "I'm sorry," Veltaris said slowly. "Did you say Class 12? "Yes, is that bad?" "Class 12 is the highest danger classification," Rixamora said, his voice shaking slightly. "It means a planet is actively hostile to life. Only the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy receive that rating." Subin leaned forward with a small smile. "Well, Earth has had 5 mass extinction events. Ice ages that covered most of the planet in glaciers. Asteroids that blocked out the sun for years. Supervolcanoes that nearly ended all life. And humans not only survived all of that, we thrived. How? Piptic squeaked. How do you survive extinction events? We adapt, Subin said simply. Humans are very good at adapting. Ensign J1, the medical officer, decided to add more information. J1 had no filter and loved sharing interesting medical facts, which was usually fine except when it made aliens faint. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, he explained cheerfully. We would chase prey animals for hours and hours until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we'd kill them and eat them. We're basically built for endurance. Thraxnil, the warrior alien, looked interested. You hunted through endurance? That's unusual. Most predators use speed or strength. We use both, actually, J1 said. Humans can run for hours without stopping. We also have very strong grip strength. And we can throw things with incredible accuracy. Our ancestors would throw rocks hard enough to kill prey from a distance. Fascinating, said Biomancer Kyleseth, the Imperium's top biologist. But surely your physical capabilities are limited compared to actual predator species. Want to test that? Subin asked with a dangerous smile. Before anyone could stop her, she stood up and walked to the center of the room. Humans can survive in temperatures from -40 degrees to over 50 degrees. We've lived in deserts, jungles, Arctic tundra, high mountains, and even underwater in submarines. We've made homes in every single biome on our planet. That's impossible, Kyleseth said. No single species can adapt to such varied environments. We did, Subin said. Because we're really stubborn. Also, we have excellent temperature regulation, versatile diets, and we can modify our environment with tools and clothing. J1 jumped in again. Oh, and human immune systems are incredibly aggressive. We have to be careful about organ transplants because our bodies attack anything foreign. We have redundant organs, too. You can remove a kidney, a lung, parts of the liver, the appendix, the spleen, and humans survive just fine. The aliens were starting to look disturbed. Kyleseth was taking frantic notes. There's more, J1 continued enthusiastically. Humans can heal from injuries that would kill most species. Broken bones, they fuse back together stronger than before. Cuts and wounds. Our blood clots automatically and new skin grows. We've even survived having metal rods put in our spines to fix injuries. That sounds like torture, Piptic said quietly. It's called surgery, J1 said. We cut ourselves open, fix problems, and sew ourselves back up. It's very useful. Veltaris looked like he wanted to leave the room. You voluntarily cut into your own bodies. Well, trained doctors do it, Jiwan clarified. But yes, it's normal medical practice. Subin decided to continue. Should I tell them about our pain tolerance? Maybe we should move on, Day1 suggested weakly. No, I want to hear this, Thraxnil said. He was one of the few aliens who seemed more impressed than horrified. Humans have very high pain tolerance, Subin explained. We have to because Earth is dangerous. People have walked on broken legs to get help. Mothers give birth, which is extremely painful, and then take care of their babies immediately after. Soldiers have continued fighting after being injured. There are stories, Tejo added, of humans in extreme situations performing what we call hysterical strength. A mother once lifted a car off her trapped child. Just picked up a car with her bare hands because she needed to. That violates physics, Kyleseth protested. Tell that to the mother who did it, Subin said with a shrug. The biomancer was looking more and more distressed. I need to understand this better. What do humans consume? What is your diet? We're omnivores, J1 said. We eat plants and animals, pretty much anything organic, really. Our ancestors could digest raw meat, though we prefer to cook it now. Sensible, Kyleseth said, relaxing slightly. Oh, but we also eat things that are poisonous, J1 added. Kyleseth dropped his datapad. What? Capsaicin, for example, Yunwu explained. It's the chemical that makes peppers spicy. It evolved to stop mammals from eating the peppers. Humans tasted it and said, "This is delicious, let's put it on everything." We even have competitions, Bora said, to see who can eat the spiciest peppers without crying. People do it for fun. For fun, Veltaris repeated faintly. And alcohol, Tejo said. That's technically a poison too. Our livers filter it out, but in the meantime it makes us feel relaxed and happy. So we drink it socially. You consume poison, socially? Rick Zamora looked ready to faint. And caffeine is technically toxic in large amounts. J1 continued, but we drink it every day because we like the taste and the energy boost. Subin was clearly enjoying herself now. Should I tell them about extreme sports? Please don't, Day1 said. She told them anyway. Humans do dangerous activities for entertainment. We jump out of airplanes, climb mountains without safety equipment, surf on waves that could drown us, and race vehicles at speeds that could kill us if we crash. We call it fun. Why? Piptic asked, sounding genuinely distressed. Why would you risk death for entertainment? Because it's exciting, Subin said. Humans get bored easily. We need challenges. Our brains literally release happy chemicals when we do dangerous things and survive. Thraxnil suddenly stood up. He walked over to Subin, looking at her with his warrior's eyes. I don't believe it. I think you're exaggerating to intimidate us. Prove your strength, Subin raised an eyebrow. How? Arm wrestling. If humans are truly as strong and tough as you claim, prove it. The other aliens tried to protest. But Thraxnil was already moving a table into position. Subin sat down across from him looking amused. Just to be clear, she said, I don't want to hurt you. You won't, Thraxnil said confidently. He was twice her size and covered in scales. They gripped hands. Teho counted down. 3, 2, 1, go. For about 5 seconds, they strained against each other. Thraxnil was strong, no doubt. But Subin had trained in Earth's gravity her entire life. She had climbed mountains, run marathons, and survived military training that would hospitalize most aliens. She slammed his hand down on the table. The impact cracked the surface. A ceremonial pillar nearby, made of what the aliens called unbreakable stone, split down the middle and fell over. Everyone stared in silence. Subin looked at the broken pillar. Oops, sorry about that. I'll pay for repairs. Kyle Seth stood up shakily. I need to run more scans. I need to understand human biology better. This is terrifying. We're not that scary, Jiwan said, trying to be reassuring. You're apex predators from a death world who consume poison for recreation and break unbreakable stone by accident, Beltaris said. Yes, Ambassador, you are absolutely that scary. Piptic raised a tiny hand. May I ask one more question? Of course, Jiwan said gently. What animals on your world hunt humans? What are you afraid of? The entire human delegation started laughing. They couldn't help it. The question was too innocent, too genuinely curious. We're the apex predator, Bora explained when they calmed down. We're at the top of the food chain. There are dangerous animals, yes, but nothing that hunts humans specifically. We hunt everything else. The room was silent again. This time it was a heavy, thoughtful silence. Finally, Veltaris spoke. I believe we need to reconsider our negotiating position. We came here thinking we were welcoming a young, weak species into the Imperium. It seems we were very wrong. We're not trying to intimidate you, Day One said quickly. We just want to be honest about who we are. And we appreciate that honesty, Veltaris said. Even if it is deeply concerning. Shall we adjourn for today? I think we all need time to process this information. As the meeting ended, Thraxnil approached Subin. He held out his hand in the human gesture of respect. You are a worthy warrior. I apologize for doubting your strength. Subin shook his hand carefully. You're pretty strong too. Good match. As they left, Jaewon said cheerfully. That went well. Everyone turned to stare at him. Did it though? Teho asked. Sure. They know we're tough now. That's good for negotiations. They'll take us seriously. Or they'll be too scared to work with us, Daewon muttered. But Hyunwoo shook his head. No, this is good. They see us as equals now, maybe even as valuable allies. Fear and respect are close cousins in warrior cultures. Behind them in the conference room, the aliens were having a very serious discussion about what it meant to negotiate with Death World survivors who thought drinking poison was fun. 1 week had passed since the Death World revelations, and the atmosphere at Haven's Gate had changed completely. The aliens were still cautious around humans, but there was a new sense of curiosity mixed with their fear. Some of them even seemed excited to learn more about these strange beings from Earth. Lieutenant Yuna had become unexpectedly popular with the younger alien crew members. She was a pilot, one of the best in the human fleet, and she loved flying more than anything. Several young aliens had asked her to teach them human flight techniques, and she'd eagerly agreed. Chef Wan Shik had also arrived on the station. He was the Soul's Promise's head cook, and he'd brought ingredients for a cultural food exchange. The results had been mixed. Some aliens loved Korean food, others ran screaming from the spiciness. One unfortunate creature had tried kimchi and needed medical attention, though they insisted afterward that they were fine and wanted to try more. This fermented cabbage is an assault on my taste sensors, one alien had said. but I respect its power. The negotiations had settled into a strange but comfortable routine. Every morning, both sides would meet to discuss terms. Every afternoon, they'd share information about their cultures. And every evening, various crew members would socialize, trying to understand each other better. It was during one of these evening social sessions that everything changed. An emergency alert screamed through the station's speakers. Everyone jumped. Veltaris received a communication and his 4 eyes went wide with concern. "What's happening?" G1 asked immediately. "Pirates," Veltaris said, his voice tight. "They're attacking the Kelvin mining colony 3 systems away. The colonists are calling for help. How soon can your response ships arrive?" Daewon asked. 4 hours at best. The colony may not survive that long." Daewon looked at his crew, then back at Veltaris. "The Soul's Promise can be there in 40 minutes. Every alien in the room turned to stare at him. "That's impossible," Rixmora said. "That would require traveling at speeds far beyond safe limits." "Safe for you, maybe," Una said with a confident smile. "Human ships are built tougher, and human pilots don't mind taking risks." "But you're a diplomatic vessel," Thraxnil protested. "You're not equipped for combat." Subin stepped forward. "We have Marines. We have weapons. And we have very motivated humans who don't like bullies. Let us help." Veltaris looked torn. "This is highly irregular. We cannot ask you to risk yourselves for our people." "You're not asking," G1 said firmly. "We're offering. If you become part of our community, we help each other. That's what friends do." "Friends," Veltaris repeated softly. Then he nodded. "Go, please, save them if you can." The human crew ran for their ship. Within minutes, the Soul's Promise detached from Haven's Gate and rocketed toward the colony at speeds that made the monitoring aliens gasp in horror. On the bridge, Una was in her element. Her hands moved across the controls like she was playing a musical instrument. "Engaging maximum thrust. We're going to break some speed records today." "Try not to break the ship," Daewon said, strapping himself into his seat. "No promises, Captain." They pushed the ship harder than regulations allowed. The hull shook and alarms beeped warnings about stress levels. But the ship held together, because human engineers always built things tougher than necessary just in case. Back at Haven's Gate, the aliens watched in real time through long-range sensors. They saw the Soul's Promise accelerate to speeds that should have torn it apart. They watched it cut travel time to a fraction of what their own ships could manage. "They're insane," one alien whispered. "They're magnificent," Thraxnil said with genuine admiration. 38 minutes after leaving Haven's Gate, the Soul's Promise arrived at the Kelvin colony. 3 pirate ships were there, larger and better armed than the human vessel. They were firing on the colony's shields, which wouldn't last much longer. "Sir, we're outgunned," Tejo reported. "Yes," Daewon agreed calmly. "But they don't know that. Open a channel." The lead pirate ship appeared on screen. The captain looked like a combination of an octopus and a shark with too many teeth. "Who are you?" the pirate demanded. "Leave or we'll destroy you too." "This is Captain Daewon of Earth's Soul's Promise. You have 10 seconds to stop your attack and surrender, or we will stop you ourselves." The pirate laughed. "Earth? Never heard of it. You're just one small ship. We're 3 warships. Do the math, little captain." "I did," Daewon said coldly. "You lose. 10 seconds starts now." The pirates opened fire on the Soul's Promise, but Una was already moving, spinning the ship through space in patterns that no sane pilot would attempt. The shots missed. Barely, but they missed. "Marines, get ready," Subin commanded. Her team was already suited up in combat armor. "Boarding action in 90 seconds. Boarding?" One of her Marines laughed. "They're going to hate this." The Soul's Promise fired back. Their weapons weren't as powerful as the pirate ships, but they were precise. Una flew close, impossibly close, using the smaller ship's agility to stay in the pirates' blind spots. They targeted engines and weapons, disabling rather than destroying. Then Subin and her Marines did something the pirates never expected. They launched themselves from the ship in spacesuits, using small thrusters to fly through the void toward the nearest pirate vessel. At Haven's Gate, watching this unfold, the aliens were stunned into silence. "They're spacewalking into combat," Piptic said in disbelief. "Without a ship around them, just floating through the vacuum toward an enemy." "Humans are terrifying," another alien agreed. The Marines reached the pirate ship and used cutting torches to burn through the hull. Within minutes, they were inside. The fighting was brief and brutal. The pirates weren't prepared for humans in close combat. Subin and her team moved through the ship like a well-oiled machine, neutralizing threats with non-lethal force when possible and lethal force when necessary. 15 minutes after the fight started, all 3 pirate ships were disabled. The Marines had captured 2 of them. The third had tried to flee, but Yuna had shot out their engines with scary precision. Day 1 contacted the colony. "This is the Soul's promise. The threat is neutralized. Are you all safe?" "We are," came the grateful response. "Thank you. Thank you so much. We thought we were going to die." "You're welcome. The Imperium's response ships should arrive soon. They'll help with repairs and take the pirates into custody." When the Soul's promise returned to Haven's Gate 3 hours later, the entire alien delegation was waiting at the docking bay. As the human crew walked out, the aliens started making a sound. It took the humans a moment to realize they were cheering. Veltaris approached Day 1 directly. "I have lived for 300 of your years. I've seen many brave actions, but I have never seen anything like what you just did. You saved hundreds of lives today." "We did what anyone would do," Day 1 said, uncomfortable with the praise. "No," Thraxanil said firmly. "Most species would have waited for proper backup, would have followed safety protocols. You risked everything to save people you don't even know." "They were in danger," Subin said simply. "That's all that mattered." Young Kixavara, a junior diplomat who had been watching the entire incident, spoke up shyly. "You flew through space without a ship around you. Weren't you scared?" One of the Marines grinned. "Terrified. But fear doesn't matter when people need help. You do the job anyway." That evening, the food situation on the station changed dramatically. One chick had prepared a huge Korean barbecue feast to celebrate. This time, the aliens approached the spicy food with determination instead of fear. If humans could fly into combat against impossible odds, surely they could handle some spicy meat. Several aliens discovered they actually enjoyed the food. Others couldn't handle the spice but kept trying anyway, saying they wanted to understand this human tradition. Piptik sat next to Yuna, eating rice carefully. "I want to learn to fly like you." "Will you teach me?" "Of course," Yuna said with a warm smile. "But I should warn you, human flying techniques can be dangerous. We take a lot of risks." "I know," Piptik said seriously. "That's why I want to learn. Your people turn danger into opportunity. That's a valuable skill." Across the room, Veltaris sat with G1 and Day 1. "We need to discuss something," he said. "The Imperium Council has been watching everything that happened today. They're very impressed." "We just did what we thought was right," G1 said. "Exactly," Veltaris replied. "The Imperium has been at peace for 300 years. We've forgotten how to act decisively, how to face danger head-on. Watching your crew today reminded us of something important. Sometimes rules and protocols must take second place to doing what's right." "Does this mean you're reconsidering letting us join?" Day 1 asked carefully. "On the contrary," Veltaris said, his 4 eyes twinkling. "We're reconsidering our entire offer. The Council wants to offer Earth something unprecedented. A full seat on the Grand Council, not as junior members or probationary members, but as equals, right from the start." G1 and Day 1 looked at each other in shock. That's incredible," G1 said. "You've earned it," Thraxanil said, joining the conversation. He put a hand on Subin's shoulder. "You fight like warriors. You think like strategists. And you care like family. Those are the qualities we need more of in the galaxy." "We're honored," Day 1 said sincerely. "But we're still going to make mistakes. We're still going to do things in our own chaotic human way." "We're counting on it," Veltaris said with something that might have been a smile. "The galaxy has been orderly and peaceful for too long. Maybe we need a little human chaos to remind us how to be brave." Later that night, as the party wound down, Tejo found himself talking with Rixmora, the protocol advisor who had been so offended by the Ramyan incident. "I apologize for my harsh words when we first met," Rixmora said quietly. "I judged you too quickly." "No worries," Tejo said. "We did show up eating noodles to the most important meeting in our history." "That was pretty bad." "Perhaps," Rixmora said. "Or perhaps it was perfectly human. You don't let ceremony get in the way of practicality. There's wisdom in that." As the humans finally headed back to their ship to rest, they could hear the aliens still talking excitedly about everything that had happened. The word friends came up a lot. So did heroes and terrifying, but mostly friends. We did good today, Yuna said tiredly. Yeah, Day One agreed. We really did. The final day of negotiations had arrived. After 2 weeks of cultural exchanges, misunderstandings, revelations, and one dramatic rescue mission, both humans and aliens gathered in the conference chamber for the last time. The atmosphere was completely different from that first awkward meeting. Now there was laughter in the halls, casual conversations between species, and genuine warmth in the air. The formal treaty signing was scheduled for the afternoon. In the morning, however, both sides had decided to hold one last informal gathering. It had become tradition over the past week to share breakfast together, with one chick preparing Korean dishes and various aliens contributing food from their own worlds. Jiwon sat with Veltaris, both of them drinking tea. The High Archon had developed a taste for green tea, though he still found coffee too intense. I must confess something, Veltaris said. When we first arrived at your solar system, I was terrified. 200 ships seemed like appropriate security at the time, but now I realize it probably looked like an invasion force. Jiwon laughed. It really did. We nearly started shooting. That would have been a terrible way to begin a friendship. Indeed, but I'm glad we got past that rough start. Your species has taught us much these past 2 weeks. We've learned a lot too, Jiwon said. Mostly that we need to read instruction manuals more carefully before showing up to important meetings. Across the room, Hyunwoo was excitedly showing Piptik his collection of Earth memes on his datapad. The tiny alien scholar was taking notes furiously. So this image of a cat saying Icon has cheeseburger represents human humor, Piptik asked. Early human internet humor, yes, Hyunwoo explained. Memes evolved over time. They're like cultural shorthand. One image can communicate complex ideas and emotions. Fascinating. This is why humans can communicate so efficiently. You've created a visual language alongside your verbal one. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's pretty accurate. Bora was teaching a group of younger aliens how to make kimchi. The key is patience, she explained. You have to let it ferment for the right amount of time. Too little and it's just spicy cabbage. Too long and it's too sour. How do you know when it's perfect? Kixvara asked. You taste it, Bora said. Here, try this batch. I made it last week. The young aliens tried it carefully. Some loved it. Others found it too intense. But they all appreciated the effort and the shared experience. In the corner, Subin was arm wrestling with Thraxnil again. This time they'd placed padding under the table to protect it. They'd become good friends over the past week, bonding over their shared warrior spirit. You're getting stronger, Subin grunted as they strained against each other. Or you're going easier on me, Thraxnil replied. Maybe both. She slammed his hand down, but it took longer this time. Good match. Next time I will win, Thraxnil said confidently. I look forward to it. As noon approached, everyone gathered in the conference chamber for the formal signing ceremony. The room had been decorated beautifully, with symbols from both human and Imperium cultures. The massive treaty document sat on a ceremonial table ready to be signed. Veltaris stood at the center. Today we welcome humanity into the Galactic Imperium not as junior members, but as full partners. This is unprecedented in our history. But then again, humans have been unprecedented since the moment we met them. The aliens made sounds of agreement. Some of them were definitely laughing. Ambassador Jiwon, Veltaris continued, would you like to say a few words before we sign? Jiwon stood up, looking professional in her formal uniform. She walked to the podium and looked out at the assembled beings, both human and alien. 2 weeks ago, we arrived at this station terrified we'd mess everything up. And honestly, we kinda did. We showed up eating noodles to our first meeting. We compared your warriors to pet lizards. We gave a PowerPoint presentation when you expected formal ceremony. We accidentally broke a priceless ceremonial pillar. The room filled with laughter, both human and alien. Even Rick Zamora was chuckling. But through all of those mistakes, Jiwon continued, something wonderful happened. We became friends. We learned that our differences make us stronger together. You taught us patience and respect for tradition. We taught you that sometimes it's okay to break the rules when lives are at stake. We also taught them about memes. Hyunwoo whispered to Piptik. Shh, Bora hissed, but she was smiling. I think what I'm trying to say, Jiwon said, is thank you. Thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for giving us a chance despite our chaotic human nature, and thank you for becoming our friends." She moved toward the ceremonial table to sign the treaty. That's when Hyunwoo's bag fell over. He'd been carrying it around all morning, and everyone had been too polite to ask why. Now as it tipped over, something rolled out, a confetti cannon, a Earth-style party popper designed for celebrations. It rolled right to Jiwon's feet just as she reached for the signing pen. She stepped on it by accident. The cannon activated with a loud bang. Multicolored paper confetti exploded into the air, showering the entire ceremonial area. It got on the treaty, on the table, in Veltaris's hair, and all over Jiwon's formal uniform. Everyone froze. The room went silent. Jiwon closed her eyes, certain they'd just ruined everything again. Then Piptik started laughing. It was a high, squeaky sound that was absolutely delightful. The laughter was infectious. Kiksvara joined in. Then some of the other younger aliens. Veltaris looked at the confetti covering his ceremonial robes. He picked up a piece and examined it. Then his 4 eyes crinkled with what could only be amusement. "Is this another human tradition?" he asked. "Not exactly," Bora said quickly. Dr. Hyunwoo brought it for after the ceremony. It was supposed to be a surprise celebration. It wasn't supposed to go off now. "I'm so sorry," Hyunwoo said, looking mortified. "It was just supposed to make things festive. I didn't mean to ruin the ceremony." Thraxnil stood up, still picking confetti out of his scales. To everyone's surprise, he was smiling. "You didn't ruin anything, human. You made it memorable. In 300 years, no one will remember another boring treaty signing, but they will definitely remember the day the humans exploded colored paper all over the High Archon." Veltaris laughed. Actually laughed out loud. "He's right. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Leave it to humans to make even the most formal ceremony into something chaotic and wonderful. So we're not in trouble?" Hyunwoo asked hopefully. "In trouble? No, this is the most human thing that could have happened. In fact, I think we should leave the confetti where it is. Let it be part of the official record. Future generations should know that this treaty was signed with laughter and joy, not just formality and ceremony." Jiwon, still covered in confetti, signed the treaty. Then Veltaris signed. Then representative after representative came forward, all of them still laughing and picking confetti out of their clothes. After the signing, someone suggested taking an official photograph. The resulting image showed dozens of different species, all covered in colorful paper, grinning and laughing together. It became the most famous photograph in galactic history. That evening, they held a proper celebration party. One Shik had outdone himself with the food. There were Korean dishes, Imperium delicacies, and fusion attempts that ranged from delicious to questionable. No one cared. Everyone was too busy talking, laughing, and enjoying the moment. Yuna was teaching alien pilots human dance moves. Most of them were terrible at it, but they tried anyway. The sight of Thraxnil attempting something called the robot was something no one would ever forget. Taeho found himself in conversation with Rixamora again. "Remember when you were upset about the proper protocol for first contact?" Taeho said. "I was so concerned with following the rules perfectly," Rixamora admitted. "I didn't understand that sometimes the spirit of the moment matters more than the letter of the law. Humans taught me that." "We're good at breaking rules," Taeho agreed, "usually by accident." "The best kind of rule breaking," Rixamora said with what passed for a smile among his species. In a quieter corner, Jiwon and Daiwon sat with Veltaris watching the party. "We came here to negotiate," Veltaris said thoughtfully. "We brought treaties and protocols and hundreds of years of diplomatic tradition. But in the end, what brought us together was laughter. Human laughter at your own mistakes. Our laughter at the absurdity of taking ourselves too seriously. Laughter is universal," Jiwon said. "Even across species, apparently. Especially across species," Veltaris corrected. "You know what the council told me when they watched the recording of today's signing?" "What?" Daewon asked. "They said, 'The humans signed the most important treaty in galactic history, covered in colored paper and looking ridiculous, and they didn't care. They just laughed and kept going. We need more of that spirit in the galaxy.'" "So we're not a bad influence?" Jiwon asked with a smile. "You're the best kind of bad influence," Veltaris said warmly. "You remind us not to take ourselves so seriously. That it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. That sometimes the most important diplomatic tool isn't a treaty or a protocol. It's just being genuine and kind." As the party continued late into the night, Piptik stood on a table to make an announcement. The tiny scholar had to shout to be heard over the music and laughter. "I have been taking notes since the humans arrived," Piptic said. "I'm going to write a book about your species. I've decided on a title, Humans Wonderfully Terrifying and Terrifyingly Wonderful." The entire room cheered. Hyunwoo shouted, "Can I write the foreword?" "Only if you promise to explain memes," Piptic shouted back. Later, as the Soul's Promise prepared to depart Haven's Gate, the entire alien delegation came to see them off. There were hugs, which had become the standard goodbye gesture after the humans taught everyone how to do it properly. "You'll visit Earth soon?" Shiwan asked Veltaris. "Try to stop us," the High Archon said. "I want to see this death world that produced such remarkable beings. Though I'm bringing extra medical supplies, just in case your planet tries to kill me." "Fair," Daewon said with a laugh. As the human ship pulled away from the station, Teho opened one final communication channel. "High Archon Veltaris, we just wanted to say one more thing." "Yes, Lieutenant? Thank you for being patient with us, and for laughing with us instead of at us." Veltaris's 4 eyes sparkled on the screen. "Oh, we were definitely laughing at you sometimes, but always with great affection. That's what friends do." The transmission ended. The Soul's Promise turned toward Earth, ready to bring news of humanity's new place in the galactic community. On Haven's Gate, the aliens began the work of cleaning up the confetti from the ceremony, but Veltaris ordered them to save some of it. He wanted to keep pieces as a reminder of the day the Galactic Imperium came to negotiate with humans and ended up laughing. 6 months later, the galaxy had transformed. Human exchange students were attending Imperium academies, bringing their chaotic energy and innovative thinking with them. Alien diplomats visited Earth, carefully trying spicy food and strong coffee while learning about human culture. Joint military exercises brought human tactics and alien technology together in powerful new ways. And somewhere in the official archives, there was a photograph covered in confetti, showing the moment when different species stopped being strangers and became friends. The Imperium's official report on humanity was eventually made public. It ended with a note that became famous across the galaxy: status valued ally, threat level moderate, friendship level invaluable. Warning: never challenge humans to drinking contests, spicy food competitions, or any activity they describe as fun. Note: despite all evidence suggesting otherwise, humans are actually quite nice once you get to know them. Approach with caution and a good sense of humor. And really, that was the best summary anyone could have asked for.